The feminist movement, the Me Too movement, there was talk about whether they were going off the rails. Apparently, they have gone full scale off the rails. We begin today with Justin Trudeau. Suffice it to say that Justin Trudeau is Owen Wilson from Meet the Parents, except without the woodworking skill. Justin Trudeau is one of the more obnoxious, sycophantic, ridiculous, idiotic, teenage girls in a boy's body that I've ever seen. I mean, it's insane. The guy's only famous because his dad was Gary Trudeau. His previous life, what did he do in his previous career? I can't remember. It was something ridiculous. It was like he was a grocery checker or something dumb. He was, not that grocery checkers are dumb, but it's not really a qualification for being Prime Minister of Canada. His career before that, let's see. In 2009, he was appointed to the Liberal Party's critic for youth and multiculturalism. In 2011, he was appointed as critic for secondary education. He worked as a teacher in Vancouver. He completed 1 year of an engineering program, 1 year, and then 1 year of a master's program in environmental geography. And he worked and he was an athlete or something. And so there's a bunch of pictures with his shirt off, and apparently this makes the ladies swoon or some such nonsense. In any case, Justin Trudeau was on camera, and he said several silly things on camera. Here's one of the silly things that he said on camera. He was asked, someone wanted to ask him a question about mankind. The person asking the question happened to be a female student, like a woman. So Justin Trudeau mansplains to her that she shouldn't use the word mankind. Oh my goodness, just watch this moron.
Maternal love is the love that's going to change the future of mankind. So we'd like you to look
we like to say people kind, not necessarily mankind.
What the F is wrong with this guy? People kind? Do you mean humankind, like an actual word? People kind? Yeah, as Jack Handy once said, mankind is made up of two words, mank and ind. You don't know what either of them means, and that's why mankind is so mysterious. But still, Justin Trudeau, my God, the man is, if the song Imagine could take human form and then eat a Tide Pod, that would be Justin Trudeau. Do you understand the stupidity of this? First of all, the word mankind comes from humankind. It is just a shortened version of humankind. Is there any woman on earth who's serious about feeling offended when people say mankind? Of course, mankind includes women. Okay, we are the species of man. It doesn't mean we are a species only of men. Oh, the levels of stupidity. But this is supposed to be empowering for women. Honestly, if you're a woman and you feel empowered because a man just mansplained to a woman that she can't use the word mankind, if that makes you feel more feminist because Justin Trudeau just told a female student who was talking about the power of motherly love that she shouldn't use the word mankind, that makes you feel like a real feminist, let me suggest that something is wrong with you in the head. That wasn't the only dumb thing that Justin Trudeau said yesterday. Justin Trudeau also compared ISIS terrorists, apparently, to immigrants from Vietnam, Greece, and Italy, which makes perfect sense.
First of all, the fact that one of the reasons Canada is successful as a country is because we have been open to people fleeing persecution, fleeing war zones, looking for a better life for themselves and their kids. When we welcomed in waves of refugees, whether it was the Ismaili refugees in the early 70s, whether it was the Vietnamese boat people in the early 80s, whether it was people fleeing the devastation of the Second World War from Southern Europe in the 50s and 60s, the Italian communities, the Greek communities, the Portuguese communities, and others.
Okay, so here's the problem with this. The question that he was asked here, the question that led to him saying all of this was a question about letting in people who could be affiliated with ISIS. Right? So the guy asked him a question and it said, how are you going to protect future Canadians like my young daughter 10, 15, 20 years from now when you're letting in people with an ideology that just does not conform to what we're doing here? And then Trudeau immediately lumped in a bunch of people who may be sympathetic to terrorists with all the other refugees coming in from all the other countries. He doesn't say we're going to ideologically screen people, which would be the proper answer. Instead, he says this because Justin Trudeau must have been dropped on his head as a baby. But it's okay because he comes from a famous family. Lest it be said that America is stupid for electing President Trump or for electing George W. Bush or for electing Kennedys or legacy families. Canadians, before you get on your high horse about this, this is your prime minister, guys. Good call. Okay, so if this is the new feminist movement, Justin Trudeau lecturing women about using the word mankind, that was not the end of the stupidity.
On a few very narrow ideological tracks. We saw the first evidence of that when he put his cabinet together. He insisted upon making it 50% women, despite the fact that only about 22% of the elected MPs were women. And it was easier for him to do that than it was for him to screen people for the sort of competence that would actually be necessary to be cabinet members. So we've seen a fair bit of this behavior, but that was the most egregious example, I suppose.
Dr. Peterson, I recall you taking some heat because you said you would refuse to use these gender-neutral pronouns. Why was that?
Well, I actually said that I would refuse to use the pronouns that were mandated by law because they were mandated by law. I feel that it's completely inappropriate of the government to decide what language the citizenry should speak. There's never been an example of that in British common law history, and I believe that that was a very, very bad precedent. I didn't want to use language that I thought was generated by radical leftist propagandists, and so I said I wouldn't do it.
I saw one tweet this morning that said Neil Armstrong should have said one small step for people kind.
Yeah, well, you know, Trudeau was listening to an earnest woman try to discuss something important, and he interjected a ideological statement in the middle of the dialogue, and that indicates, I think, precisely the way he thinks. And I don't think he does think. I think he runs an ideology in his head and accepts the output without question. And I think we're really going to pay for it in Canada in ways that we can't yet imagine.
Well, we're going to find out because you believe it's coming to us here in America, and you've been to both countries frequently. Now let's talk about something else that builds on your premise. This whole father-daughter dance that are being canceled around the country because of gender guidelines. Even Donald Trump Jr. weighed in with this quote: the father-daughter dances inherently leave people out, not just because of transgender status, just life in general. These can be really uncomfortable, triggering events. That, according to Jared Fox, New York City Department of Education. So that's their response to cancel the dance because there's a lot of people that can't go. Is there a problem with that?
Well, the problem with that is self-evident, but it's part of this absolute onslaught by the radical leftists on the fundamental normative structures of our culture. And if you're going to cancel everything that's triggering to everyone, then you're going to cancel everything altogether, because there isn't a single thing that anyone can ever say or do that isn't going to offend someone. And the idea that this is being done so that certain people's feelings won't be hurt, I think, is absolutely absurd. It's not compassion and care that's driving this. It's the desire to put forward a very pernicious ideology, and it's being very, very successful in its application.
But, Dr. Peterson, they say that they're doing that to make things more inclusive.
Yeah, well, they say all sorts of things, and they are a very small, noisy, dangerous minority. And it's really appalling that we're bending over backwards to do their bidding without question, under the name of compassion.
A lot of my friends have been posting pictures of the daddy-daughter dance recently, and I think the pictures are so cute. Are little girls going to miss out on a memory?
Well, yes, for sure. And the thing is that even your terminology, when you're talking about little girls, is something that's going to be increasingly forbidden.
The Miss America competition has now decided that they are no longer going to be having a swimsuit competition. So Gretchen Carlson, who's on the board over there, she's a former Miss America herself, I believe, and she, of course, was the subject of a Me Too scandal because Roger Ailes had allegedly sexually harassed her. Well, Gretchen Carlson comes forward and she says, we are now going to do a Miss America 2.0 makeover. Oh, yeah.
So we are no longer a pageant. We are a competition. We will no longer judge our candidates on their outward physical appearance. That's huge.
That's huge.
And that means that we will no longer have a swimsuit competition. And so we're no longer judging women when they come out in their chosen attire, their evening wear, whatever they choose to do. It's going to be what comes out of their mouth that we're interested in when they talk about their social impact initiatives.
Oh, that's really what it's going to be about. So Miss America 2.0 is actually going to be like the Kennedy Center honors. And Madeleine Albright will be your Miss America 2018 because we're no longer taking physical appearance into account. Hillary Clinton finally has a shot at being beloved by America. She can be Miss America 2018 if she so chooses. She can walk out wearing a giant trench coat and she can be awarded this because physical appearance no longer counts. Okay, so here's why this is so dumb. Am I upset about this, by the way? No, I'm not upset about this. In fact, I think the Miss America competition was always stupid, right? I'm the guy who, when I was a teenager, used to unsubscribe from the swimsuit edition of Sports Illustrated because I thought it was basically softcore pornography, right? I mean, the fact is that when you are looking at the Victoria's Secret catalog, when they have these Victoria's Secret models on the runway, people are not watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show for the fashion. Okay, if those were 400-pound women walking down the runway with Victoria's Secret fashion on, the ratings would be nil. It's an excuse for dudes to watch scantily clad, beautiful women walk around And then they can always say to their wives, well, I was just watching because I really love the fashion aspect. By the way, women, if you are taken in by this, your boy's lying to you, okay? He's not watching the Victoria's Secret fashion show because he is mostly interested in the new styles of bra and panties that are coming out. He's thinking about what happens when those bra and panties are not part of the show at all, okay? That's just the way that men work. Note to women all over the world. The same thing was true of the Miss America pageant. So, as a religious person and an advocate of modesty for both men and women, I'm perfectly happy with there being no swimsuit competition in the Miss America pageant. I also will acknowledge that the Miss America competition was always about the swimsuit competition, okay? There's a reason that Miss America features a bunch of beautiful women and not a bunch of plus-size models or plus-size non-models who have done wonderful charity work. Mother Teresa was never going to be in the Miss America 2.0 pageant. Okay, it's not because she wasn't a charitable human being. It's because the Miss America pageant was not about that. And here's the part that I find puzzling. So I understand my own perspective on this. I'm a religious person. I think it's stupid to judge women by their bodies. That doesn't mean that when you're entering a relationship, sexual attraction isn't important. It's deeply important. It's not to say that I don't think that people of all sexes should stay in shape. I think that they should, to the best.